Hi, this is Rich Scheidner. And if you've ever wondered what it was like to be a stand-up comedian in the 1980s, I'm going to do you a big favor. Instead of billions of dollars for a time machine, you can just spend $24.95 and buy my new book, Kicking Through the Ashes, My Life as a Stand-Up in the 1980s Comedy Boom. It will save you money and give you thrills. It will take you there. Go to my website, richscheidner.com, go to amazon.com, and buy this book.
Today on Mr. Media, I'll talk to Tampa Bay rock and roll legend Johnny G. Lyon, who has fronted the Johnny G. Lyon Band, JGLB, to those in the know, for almost a quarter century. Actually, I checked that. It's been over a quarter century.
Over a quarter of a century.
Stick around. There are a lot of kids here today who look like Johnny and are patiently awaiting the results of the paternity tests. Man, can't beat that. So much media, so little time. Who keeps track of it all? That would be me. This is Bob Andelman, and this is a Mr. Media interview. You know, MrMedia.com, MRmedia.com. Stop by and check it out. There are more than 700 archived celebrity and pop culture interviews for your listening pleasure.
And some good sandwiches, too, if you come here live.
at the Globe Coffee Lounge, downtown St. Petersburg.
Mm-hmm.
The show is brought to you today by Audible. Audible is offering Mr. Media listeners a free audiobook download and a 14-day trial offer to give you a chance to check out their very cool service. I love listening to books on tape. If you've never tried it before, actors or sometimes the authors themselves read to you. It's great for the commute, the beach, or even unwinding before bed. You can choose a free audiobook from Audible's enormous library of rock and roll titles, including Life by Keith Richards, Does the Noise in My Head Bother You by Steven Tyler, and Sex, Money, Kiss by Gene Simmons. Here's an excerpt of Life by Keith Richards.
We pulled into this roadhouse called the Fordyce, where we sat down and ordered, and then Ronnie and I went to the John. You know, just start me up. We got high. We didn't fancy the clientele out there or the food, and so we hung in the John, laughing and carrying on. We sat there for 40 minutes. And you don't do that down there. Not then. That's what excited and exacerbated the situation. And the staff called the cops. As we pulled out, there was this black car parked on the side. No number plate. And the minute we took off, 20 yards down the road, we get sirens and the little blinking light, and there they are with shotguns in our faces. I had a denim cap with all these pockets in it that were filled with dope. Everything was filled with dope. In the car doors themselves, all you had to do was pop the panels, and there were plastic bags full of coke and grass, peyote, and mescaline. Oh my God. How are we going to get out of this? It was the worst time to get busted.
Are the books you've written available on audiobooks?
Funny you should ask, Johnny. You could also download the Profiler. Boy, what a setup. You could also download the Profiler, written by famed criminal profiler Pat Brown and yours truly, which Pat will read to you personally. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/radio. Again, that's audibletrial.com/radio for your free audiobook.
Now, what...
Mr. Media is recorded live before a studio audience. Wait a minute. This is not my beautiful living room. Holy cow, we're live at the extraordinary Globe Coffee Lounge.
Yeah. It's like a dream come true to be here.
In the new media capital of the world, St. Petersburg, Florida. Before I introduce my guest, Tampa Bay rock and roll legend Johnny G. Lyon, I want to tell you about the people who made this live remote recording possible. First, I'm so grateful to the owner of the Globe Coffee Lounge, Joellen Schilke, for allowing us to take over her place of business today. Joellen is celebrating her 12th year in business here in downtown St. Petersburg, and we could not be prouder of her.
She's a celebrity. She's the one you ought to be interviewing here. Hopefully that'll be good for a free sandwich for me.
Whether you're looking for a tasty meal, a sandwich, at lunch or dinner, scrumptious homemade pastries, a sweet coffee drink, or just an ice-cold beer, there's nowhere with a better vibe in our fine city than here.
Ice-cold what?
Beer,
Beer? They got beer here?
Joellen, you got beer back there?
Oh, yeah, you want one?
If I'd have known that, I would have gotten here 5 minutes quicker. I'll get one later. Thank you, Joellen.
Now, there's always something going on here at the Globe, from board games and movie nights to live music. You can find the Globe Coffee Lounge fan page on Facebook or check out Joellen's website, globecoffeelounge.com, for the latest food and drink specials or special events. I've also got to thank my old friend Dean Hendricks. When I mentioned that we wanted to take the show on the road, but I had no idea how to do that, Dean said, I'll take care of everything. And he did. And so Dean is here today. His son Drake is helping out. And Greg Kasich also helping us out here. You might have heard of Dean and Greg, a little band they play in called the Johnny Zoom Cheerlead Squad. They generally provide the... There you go. They generally provide the opening and closing music for every episode of Mr. Media. If your company needs audio-video equipment for meetings, special events, or anything else, do yourself a favor and check out Dean's company website, videolightandsound.com. Again, that's videolightandsound.com. Now, let me tell you about my guest. Johnny G. Lyon has a voice that was built to sing rock and roll. And the rumors are true. I once spent a night with Johnny G. Oh, it was innocent enough. I was there early one evening in April 1988. God, the years. 1988, when the band loaded in its equipment at the old Big Apple Bistro on Central Avenue in St. Petersburg. And I stayed all night with Johnny and his drummer and buddy, Ray Blade. My fiancée, then days away from being my bride, was there too, and we listened to every song, and we all talked in a booth between every set until the wee hours. It was a great night, a moment I'll always treasure from my days as a reporter and editor of the short-lived Tampa Bay Weekly. My time with Johnny and the boys turned into a cover story for that alt weekly. It was accompanied by a close-up photo of the singer with his mouth so wide we could see his tonsils. Just like that, he's demonstrating. Now, through the wonder that is Facebook, Johnny G and I literally reconnected just about 2 weeks ago after all these years. And when the opportunity to book guests for a live remote interview happened, I knew I had to get Johnny in here to catch up and hopefully entertain with a song. Johnny G. Lyon, welcome to Mr. Media.
Thank you, Bob. It is indeed an honor and a pleasure to be here on your highly esteemed radio show. Mr. Media, indeed.
Never heard Mr. Media and esteemed in the same sentence. That was thrilling. It sent a chill down my spine. But I got to ask you something, pal. It's been 26 years. You never called. That night, wasn't it special to you? It was special to me.
You know, I can't overemphasize how much that changed our lives. We went from being totally under the radar to being the focus of so much media and national interview requests from after the exposure we got from being featured in Tampa Bay Weekly in your excellently authored article that the inundation of media requests it precluded my ability to reconnect with you until now.
Haven't changed a bit in all these years. I love it. Now, also, I got to tell you, staying with the personal for just a minute. Now, you were very good luck to me back in '88. I was married literally 10 days after that interview ran, and that union is still holding.
And how did you pay me back?
Well, how did I pay you back?
By running the interview of Bobby Friss.
Is that a bad thing? Bobby Friss. Man, there's a name I hadn't heard in a while.
I'm just kidding with you.
Oh, man. Are you kidding with Bobby, though?
Bobby's my boy.
Okay. Well, I'm hoping that by touching base now after all these years, I'll get another 23 years.
So that's what this is all about.
It's all about me. It's not about you.
You're just using me to get to Bobby Friss once again.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Let me. Did I not explain that this whole show, it's all about me? It has nothing to do with whoever's sitting with me.
I was only here because I wanted to listen to Peter Goldenbach's excellent interview. That's the only reason I came. So
whatever it took. Whatever it took.
You know, and I didn't get to ask him a question I wanted to ask him.
Well, ask it now. We'll pass it on. What did you want to know?
Well, where is he?
Oh, he left.
Now, see, I came here to be a part of his segment. And how does he repay me? By walking out before what would arguably be the best source of cultural awareness that he could possibly find, and he's not here for it.
I think he's regretting it already.
No, I know he is. I mean, within his little insular baseball world, I mean, you just don't experience things like this.
No. I I'm sure that he will be listening to this and put you on his speed dial at the end of the day.
Peter, I tell you, I read your book many years ago, and I'm going to have to go and unread it now that you've done this to me.
All right. Now, Johnny, when I wrote about you in '88, the band was in its third year, and now you've got almost 3 decades under your belt. Did you ever dream you'd still be making music this long?
To the world's dismay, I knew that it would be hard to get rid of me, but I was determined to do what I could to keep doing what I was doing because I felt it was important.
The band has changed quite a bit in those years.
But we still have your buddy Ray Blade.
Yep. It's just my buddy?
Well, he may have other friends elsewhere, but we're looking.
Okay. Well, how has the band changed? There's two new members.
We've gotten sleepier, older. We get hungrier. We're crankier. We don't like to miss the meals. We like the kind of gigs where they end quickly. No, just kidding. We, to be honest, Bob, it's a real thrill to be able to play music and to have people appreciate it. It never gets old, and we just played a gig last weekend with the beautiful Freight Train Annie, who, if you were here, you'd see she's here and she's beautiful.
She is.
She's over here, and she's. We had a great gig with one of the great crews, a Gasparilla crew. This particular crew is the Thieves of San Lorenzo, and it was the kind of experience that you just feel really rejuvenated when it's over, and so really the childlike enthusiasm that I think is an important component for people that want to do music is still there. We still get excited and have a good time, and if we can make girls dance, we feel really gratified. So
your motivation hasn't changed in all these years?
Motivation has not changed, and it's funny. I get a little tired sometimes, but if you strap this guitar on me, I feel the same old sparks shooting up my back, and the same enthusiasm for wanting to go out there and prove that I'm not making a mistake by staying devoted to the guitar.
Has your taste in music changed in all these years?
A little bit, but to be honest, when I still want to visit the Holy Grail, the same music that I played when I was a teenager is mostly the same music I play now. I hate to give it away, but because it kind of may sound trivial, but the early Jay Giles band, I saw them when I was a teenager, and they, I like to say, they played rhythm and blues like they had a firecracker in a certain part of their anatomy, and I always thought that was really great. It had soul, but it had a kind of an energy that was manic, and I like to sell that manic energy myself, and I hope as I get older that I still can do that. So, and usually I feel like I can. Of course, after 2 or 3 hours, I start to wear out a little bit. So, we have other singers in the band. We have Andy that helps our band sing when she's not otherwise occupied, and we got my good buddy Tommy Duncan, whose real name is Greg Burridge, and he's also the website manager for WTSP, but he's also been our singer in the band for 10, 11 years, kind of an alternate lead singer. Instead of me, we can do 4 or 5 hours in a night, and it's good to have more than one singer. So, and our drummer Ray Blade still has the same great energy he's always had, and we got Ben Sudano, sometimes called Ben Jammin, on the bass, and everybody knows him, and he's a great player, and we just all have that childlike enthusiasm and still feel kind of dedicated to wanting to do what we do and do it right. What we do, if you don't do it right, it's very ordinary. But if you do it right, it's unique, simply because it's difficult to do it right, and it takes an extraordinary amount of dedication and passion.
Well, we need to take
I don't know how I would ever explain all that if you challenged me on it.
I will not ask you to repeat it.
Good.
We need to take a break. I wondered if you might, since you've got the guitar in hand, I wondered if maybe you'd like to play us out. All right, and this is Bob Andelman, and you're listening to the Mr. Media interview with Tampa Bay rock and roll legend Johnny G. Lyon. We'll be back.
How can we help our kids prepare for the future? This is Stevie Van Zandt. I don't have to tell you that children face pretty tough challenges these days. It can be pretty hard to keep them involved in their schoolwork. We adults need to make sure our kids find something in school that really sparks their interest. And nothing does that like music. Not only is music in school fun, but studies show that kids who learn music find science and math concepts easier to grasp, and that they show significant increases in self-esteem and thinking skills. Music and creativity go together. Your school music teacher can tell you all about it. So help prepare your children for the future. Art is not a luxury. It is an essential component of the quality of life. Encourage them to learn to love music.
A PSA brought to you by MENC, the National Association for Music Education. Music, part of a sound education.
Hi, this is Ron Dante of the Archies. You're listening to Mr. Media, and he'll get no sugar from me today unless he plays my record.
All right, this is Bob Andelman, and you're listening to the Mr. Media interview with Tampa Bay rock and roll legend Johnny G. Lyon, frontman of JGLB, recorded live at the Globe Coffee Lounge in sunny St. Petersburg, Florida. I've got more questions for Johnny. Just lost his pick.
I'm listening.
But we've got one from the audience that was just left with me, and I will read this as it came in. This is from a first-time listener of Mr. Media, a longtime fan of Johnny G. Lyon. Johnny, the 80s were rocking with you in Tampa Bay. Got some stories to tell about those wild, wild times. That's exactly what it says.
That's a lot of words for such a brief question.
Yeah.
Well, the 80s were a long time ago. That's what I remember most definitely about them.
Okay.
The 80s started out, we had a band called Piled High, and we were kind of a hodgepodge of a couple different concepts thrown together. But people started to pay a little bit of attention to us, although we weren't a huge draw, didn't have a lot of people coming out to our shows. Then I went to California, had a very interesting 2.5, 3 years in California. Then I came back and I decided that I wanted to start a band and name it after myself so that we wouldn't have to change the name when people came and left.
Is that why you did that? I never asked you that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
You know, you name your band Globe, and then your bass player leaves and it's not Globe anymore without such and such. And not that anybody would name a band Globe. I mean, that's a name reserved for coffee houses only. But then as the 80s progressed, about the mid-80s, our band started to kind of get a little bit of attention here and there, and we had some wonderful times and met some very nice people and forged some friendships which still last till today. And we tried to, if anybody ever found anything about us that was good, we tried to emphasize anything that was good, and if anybody could be, helped by anything our band could do, like play a benefit or something like that, we were always tried to help. So I was lucky I had some very good-hearted people in the band with me then, same as now, and I know this isn't the answer you're looking for when you ask about wild times in the 80s, but this is as close as you're going to get, so that's it.
Well, two things strike me in thinking back.
My girl's here. I'm not going to tell her about it.
Two things strike me about thinking back to you during that time in the late 80s, early 90s, and that was there were two things I think that you were known best for. One is...
We had hair.
Okay. Three things. Had hair. You guys were known, and one of the things I think that helped spread the renown of the band so much is that you played cover songs, a lot of cover songs, but you played them your way, and there were tons of energy. People always remember that. They knew if they came out there was going to be a lot of energy. They'd hear music that they knew. The other thing was the bar owners really respected and appreciated that you guys treated it professionally. You treated it like a business. And that's what I was hearing at the time. Now, if you're going to tell me that's wrong, but that's what I remember hearing about you a lot.
Well, I was telling Annie the other day. This is a two-part answer. Hopefully, after I ramble on about the first part, I'll remember the second part. But one thing about the way I approach what I do is I think of my audience as holding a television remote control, and they're going to change the channel if I don't give them a compelling reason not to. So I'm always trying to think, what can I do? While we're playing music, I got a 2-track mind. How can I keep the music going and the intensity going, but also what can we do to make this a total entertainment experience to where people will be, to the greatest degree possible, captivated by what we're doing and won't want to do anything else, won't want to leave. And one thing we did is, hey, we're having fun up here, but it's time for us to take a break. What are we going to have more fun doing, taking a break or keeping on playing? Well, we're going to keep on playing. And I don't know whether this was smart or not, but it tended to keep the people in the room as rather, so many times when the band takes their first break, people take off and they don't come back. So by that logic, we kept people around, but also we our great fears were A, people changing the channel on us, and B, not getting paid or having the club owner dismayed when he did pay us. The worst of all is, they find some excuse not to pay you because they have so little respect for you. But it's also happens occasionally to where they pay you and then they were disappointed with what happened, and it's a nasty feeling. You're getting your money, but the guy doesn't want to, doesn't feel like he made a good investment in you, and that's a lousy feeling. So I always tried to look at it from the perspective of somebody who owned a business like the one for whom we were working at the time.
If knowing what you know now, if you were starting out today, would you still go down the same path? Would you still follow your the music? Would you do something else?
Well, when I was a kid, they had this thing called the Vietnam War, and I didn't know much about it, but I did know that some of my older brothers' peer groups were going to Vietnam and getting blowed up, and I also knew that there were some really hot chicks in the anti-war movement. And so I was 14 years old, and that kind of led me down the lifestyle that led to other things, including being a musician. And, and all of these things were kind of in the quest of trying to be somebody that I would, trying to be what I wanted to be as a teenager. And it kind of dovetailed into being a musician. Even though I started playing when I was 10, I'd play some, and then when I turned 13 or 14, I kind of slacked off on it a little bit. But really, the only thing that would have kept me from being a musician is if I'd have done well in school and I hated school. So it's funny, I learned to read after I, got out of school and stuff like that. And I even read Peter Golenbach's book. So, but he couldn't stick around and listen to my interview.
And how he's being made to pay for that
I'll
now.
never forgive him for this. But I sometimes wish that I'd been a better student, but then I just blame it on that Vietnam War and all the things that were happening in the 60s, and I couldn't really focus on school, especially since I was a teenage boy and had the issues that teenage boys had and a lot of energy that I didn't know what to do with. So, music was a nice place to put that. So to answer your question, I wish I could have done better in school, but having, when it came to be, when I was about to graduate from high school and I had no idea what I was going to do, the drinking age was 18 at that time. I hear something that sounds like my guitar amp back there. The drinking age was 18, and we went to some bar where they let in 16, 17-year-olds. That was me. And there was a band there, and I saw the guitar player over there playing, and some said, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a guitar player that plays in sleazy bars. And lo and behold, some 40 years later, here I am. Although this isn't a sleazy bar.
No.
This is the kind of place I generally get kicked out of.
Now you put Joellen on notice. I'm sure she'll be happy to throw you out when the interview is done.
Especially if I don't pay my tab.
We've had some young people who were in here during the show.
And they left as soon as I got up here.
No. So that play music, and I wondered if there's anything you would tell them in general if they're thinking about pursuing music.
What you asked me if I'd give them advice or give them philosophical direction? Well, you got to have some real strong want to, I would say. The people I see that have any kind of success in it fall into two categories. One, they want to be successful as performers, and they'll do what it takes to be successful as a performer. I fell into that category, kind of. And the other kind is the people that have an art that they really believe in. They're going to stick to what they believe in, and they're convinced of the value of their art, and they're going to keep doing what they do with possible little or no variation or alteration as they progress, because they believe in what they do. So either believe in what you do as your art is something that you want to sell as your art, or you got to want it either that, or you got to want to just be a performer, which is more what I am, and get yourself in front of audiences, see what they like, and learn to tailor what you do to where you will have a career as a performer.
Well, Johnny, I'm so glad that you came down and did this for us today.
And so am I.
I know. I can see it.
I'm hoping that it translates itself into a discount on some of the great food here at the Globe Coffee and Lounge.
I think we'll get that taken care of. And folks, listen, you can find Johnny G. Lyon and his band, JGLB, all over the internet, starting with their website, jglb.net. And you can probably find Johnny, as I did, on Facebook. Johnny.
That's Johnny G. Lyon without an S.
Right. I didn't put an S on, did I?
No, I know you didn't.
Okay.
But Johnny, people tend to. People can hear you say Johnny G. Lyon, Johnny G. Lyon, Johnny G. Lyon, and then they'll turn around and write my name, Johnny G. Lyons. So.
You know what I always say? People is dumb.
Well, I'm glad.
Nobody listening to this show, but other people.
The people who listen to this show are the highest demographic of socioeconomic and education level that you'll find in any media consumers anywhere. But
I like to think you're right.
Yeah, me, I'm dumb.
Jeez. Hey, Johnny, thank you so much for joining us today on the show. And maybe we'll get you to play us out.
Hey, did you know that you can listen to the latest Mr. Media on your phone with the Stitcher app? Stitcher is smart radio for your smartphone. Mr. Media is on demand and on the go with Stitcher. Download Stitcher for your phone today. Get the free download at Stitcher.com. That's STITCHER.com.
Hey, this is comedian Mark Maron, and I love Mr. Media Radio, even though he didn't let me go on as long as some other guests.
Okay, before you go, I just want to remind you that Audible.com was our sponsor today, and you can get a free audiobook with a 30-day trial today by signing up at www.audible.com/trynow. TRYNOW. Again, a free audiobook with a 30-day trial today by signing up at www.audible.com/trynow. I don't know about you, but that Johnny Cash biography, as read by Chris Christopherson, I think I'm going to grab that one right now.